New normal big life.
Struggling with a chronic illness that doctors can't crack? Today on New Normal Big Life, functional medicine expert Dr. Kevin Smith, founder of Chronic Condition Center, shares his innovative approach to healing with over 20 years helping thousands overcome chronic health challenges. Dr. Smith reveals why accurate diagnoses are hard to come by, how to uncover root causes for your biggest health challenges, and game-changing functional medicine solutions. Let's dive in to talk about conventional versus functional medicine, the immune system, and so much more to empower you to be a wiser healthcare consumer. Hi, friends. Welcome to the New Normal Big Life podcast. We bring you natural news and stories about nature that we hope will inspire you to get outside and adventure, along with a step-by-step plan to help you practice what you've learned and create your own new normal and live the biggest life you can dream. I'm your host, Antoinette Lee, the Wellness Warrior. Hi, Dr. Smith. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So I'd like to start off with a really important question. Why are so many Americans, from youth to young adults to seniors, feeling so sick and tired? All over the internet, everyone's talking about how sick they feel. And we're starting to see younger and younger people, for example, in their 20s and 30s, with diseases that we used to think of as something that happens to you when you're in middle age or seniors. What's going on?
That's a great question. So first of all, I want to say that there are two broad categories of healthcare in this country. There is allopathic healthcare and there's functional medicine. And allopathic healthcare is what people get when they go visit a medical doctor. The purpose of allopathic healthcare is to treat symptoms with a drug. And so if you have high blood pressure, for example, they're going to give you a medication that's going to help you with your blood pressure. If you have low thyroid, they're going to give you medication that's going to help you with your thyroid issues. That's allopathic medicine, and that's the predominant type of healthcare that we have in the United States today. The other type of healthcare is called functional medicine, and that's what I do. I'm a functional medicine practitioner. Functional medicine it's different from allopathic medicine in the way that we ask questions. One of the most predominant questions that we ask is why? Why does the person have this problem? Medical doctors don't ask that question. They don't care. If you have a high blood pressure, you walk in the guy's office and you're put in a certain diagnostic box, and there are certain drugs that are prescribed based on that diagnostic box. That's called the standard of medical care. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't work. The functional medicine doctor says, why do you have high blood pressure? Why do you have thyroid problems? And so they take a more holistic approach to look at the complicated interworkings of the body. For example, if your gut is sick, if you're not making enough serotonin or dopamine in the gut, you're going to have brain problems, and then you're going to have thyroid problems, and then you're going to have energy problems. So when you trace it back, it could be a problem stemming from the gut. So the two primary types of healthcare in this country is allopathic medicine and functional medicine, with allopathic medicine being the most common kind. And that has failed a lot of people, and a lot of people are experiencing diseases and symptoms, and they're not getting any results. They're not getting any meaningful dialogue with their doctor because the only thing that they know what to do with is chase their symptoms. Functional medicine is, we don't treat symptoms, we treat the patient. So it's a personalized, patient-centered approach to healing.
And when we think of allopathic medicine, that's what most people hear of as conventional medicine. A diagnosis, you get a prescription, maybe another therapeutic remedy, like massage therapy, for example. And then if that doesn't work, surgery, in this endless cycle. How is it that a person could have what you might think of as a complex autoimmune situation, meaning it doesn't quite identify as any one specific type of autoimmune disease.
Mm-hmm.
How can that person go from their allopathic or conventional medicine practitioner to someone like you with this complex series of symptoms and get a diagnosis and treatment?
So, first of all, I'm very rarely the first person that people go to when they have these problems. I'm usually they've already gone to their primary care physician, they've gone to a couple of specialists, they've gone to a couple surgeons, they've gone to a physical therapist, maybe a chiropractor, an acupuncturist, and I'm way down the line. And so when they come to see me, one of the first things I do is I gather their medical history. I gather their information. And the second thing I do is I have them fill out these very long, complex questionnaires that asks them questions about the nature of their problem, how long they've had it, what have they done for it, so that I'm not like retracing somebody else's steps. I'm going to move in other directions that other people haven't done. Now, when you have an autoimmune condition, as a rule of thumb, anytime that somebody comes in my office with this weird, mysterious medical problem that nobody can figure out what's wrong with them, nobody can diagnose what's wrong with them, 90% of the time it's autoimmune. And so if that's one of the things that I spend a lot of time working on. Autoimmune, for those people that don't understand what that is, the immune system is your body's defense system. So it protects you from viruses or bacteria or a parasite, and it's your white blood cells that circulates throughout your body to get rid of any kind of invading bacteria or invading viruses and keeps you feeling good. Sometimes the immune system starts to turn on your body, and so it starts to attack your own body tissues. And so that's what autoimmune means. Auto means self, and immune is related to the immune system. So one of the areas that's attacked very frequently is the thyroid gland. And when that happens, that's a disease called Hashimoto's disease. So people with low thyroid, 90% of them have Hashimoto's. They have some kind of an underlying autoimmune component. It can affect the brain. So in the brain, if you have an autoimmune attack in the brain, that's called multiple sclerosis. If you have an attack on the colon, that's called Crohn's disease. If you have an autoimmune attack on the joints in your hands or your spine, that's called rheumatoid arthritis. And psoriasis is a variant of that. That's when it starts to attack the skin. So there's about 100 different autoimmune diseases that have been identified by medicine. And they're all based on what part of the body is being attacked. Is it the lung fields? Is it the liver? Is it the bladder? All kinds of different areas can have trouble, and it's because of the immune system attacking your body. You don't really appreciate the immune system and how powerful it is until it starts turning on your own body. That's a wake-up call.
Is there a similar component in folks with blood sugar that's difficult to regulate, whether it's too low most of the time or too high most of the time, or if it's up and down throughout the day? Is there a similar component that something within the body is experiencing dis-ease, and then it causes your blood sugar to be dysregulated? How
Yes,
does that work?
So there's when it comes to blood sugar imbalances, there's actually that's called diabetes, and there's actually 4 types of diabetes that have been identified by medical researchers. Type 1 diabetes is where you have an autoimmune attack that affects the pancreas. It affects the beta cells of the pancreas, and the immune system, the white blood cells, attack and destroy the beta cells, and the person can no longer make their own insulin. It's a hormone produced by the pancreas. So whenever you eat carbohydrates, proteins, or fats, that food is broken down into glycogen and it goes throughout the body, and simple glucose, and those glucose molecules are shuttled into the cells where it's burned as energy. And if you don't have enough of the hormone insulin, it cannot get into your cells, and that happens as a child. That's type 1. Type 1.5, that a lot of your listeners may have never heard of, is adult onset autoimmune disease. It's the same mechanism that happens with type 1, but it happens as an adult. So it's an autoimmune disease that where the white blood cells attack and destroy the pancreas, and they cannot manufacture their own insulin, and they have to take insulin for the rest of their life. Type 2 diabetes is the most common kind. That's the kind that's related to lifestyle and related to your food choices, your exercise habits, your stress, your ability to manage your stress, I should say. And that's the most common kind. That's probably about 97% of all diagnosed cases of blood sugar imbalances is type 2 diabetes. And so it starts off as insulin resistance, where your body can make insulin. There's no problem making insulin. But the problem is taking the insulin and shuttling it into the cells to take the glucose out of the bloodstream into the cells where it can be made into energy. So the insulin presents the glucose to the cells. The cells don't listen to the insulin, and so the glucose starts to accumulate and build and build and build and build in your bloodstream until you have high blood sugar. That's what we know as diabetes. And then there's a fourth type of diabetes that's not very well known by most people. It's in the medical literature. That's called type 3 diabetes. And another word for type 3 diabetes is Alzheimer's disease. So there's a direct relationship between high insulin levels, high blood sugar levels, and early onset dementia and brain problems. And so people that are at risk of diabetes, they need to be very careful that they're not going to cause massive inflammation in their brain and cause further problems down the road.
So, would it be safe to say that if you've been diagnosed with diabetes, type 2 diabetes, that in addition to protecting to those lifestyle changes that you need to make to regulate your sugar, you also need to make not just lifestyle changes, but also maybe supplements that will support brain health?
That's not a bad idea. It's a very, very good idea to support your brain health as much as you can. First order of business, always protect the brain, always protect the heart, make sure that they're not at risk. Well, type 2 diabetes comes with it a lot of risks. Heart attack, stroke, that affects the brain, and early onset dementia, blindness, kidney failure, peripheral neuropathy. There's a lot that can go wrong with that. And so I always start off by looking at the lifestyle. Is the person eating properly? Or are they just eating Pop-Tarts and Pepsi for breakfast? Are they exercising on a regular basis? Are they managing their stress? Meditation, exercise, going for a walk, walking the dog. It's a phenomenal way to decrease your blood sugar levels and to stabilize them.
And let's back up and talk a little bit about low blood sugar. What's happening in those people?
Well, I think that the way that I use the phrase is called reactive blood sugar metabolism. So when your blood sugar is up and down and up and down and up and down, and it's riding a roller coaster ride, that's an indication that the foods that you're eating may not be proper for you. I'll give you an example. Let's say, for example, that your blood glucose level should be stabilized. It should be even across the day, but it goes up and it goes down and it goes up and it goes down. Let's say, for example, it spikes and then it goes all the way down. It goes below the baseline, and then you have low blood sugar. Those people feel shaky, they feel irritable, they feel terrible. So what do they do about it? They eat. And usually they eat something very bad for them, like a donut, or they eat a candy bar or something, and that causes their blood sugar to go up. And it goes above the baseline, goes way high up, and then when the energy is burned out, comes back down again, goes to the baseline, dips below the baseline, and then guess what happens at that point? Now the cycle starts all over again. And so they eat again, and they eat something very carby. One of the things that I want to do with people is to teach them how to eat properly so they can stabilize their blood sugar levels. Not only is it going to help with the stabilize the blood sugar, it's going to also help with cortisol. Cortisol is a hormone in your body that's produced by the adrenal glands. It's in your it regulates your fight or flight symptoms. So you're going to either flee from a dangerous stimuli or fight it. And cortisol has an inverse relationship with insulin. So when insulin is spiking and going up, insulin is going down. When insulin is going down, cortisol is going up. So when you're riding a roller coaster ride with insulin, you're also on a roller coaster ride for cortisol. And that is very dangerous. It leads to brain fog, and it also leads to belly fat production. And so if you are out of control with your insulin and cortisol, you're going to have mood swings. You're going to feel nervous, irritable. You're not going to be able to go to sleep very easily. It's just going to cause a lot of lifestyle problems. It's also going to cause a lot of physical health issues, and that you probably don't want to have, in your body at all. You want to try to maintain cortisol levels normally, and you want to maintain your insulin levels. That's, by the way, the secret to weight loss is to control your insulin levels, your cortisol levels. Also, ghrelin and leptin are two other hormones that are very much impacted by it impacts your weight.
Before we cover the next topic in this episode, I want to introduce you to the adventure sports lifestyle with what I call a micro story about an adventure that I've had. The adventure sports lifestyle and my deep connection to nature is essential to my good health. So here's the story. Over the past few weeks, if you've been watching the news in America, there have been 100-year floods breaking out all over the country. Here's a good time to think about preparedness, preparing yourself, your family, your animals, and anything that you care about to survive no matter what. Whether it's a wildfire, a flood, a hurricane, civil unrest, there are a few things that you should do. And throughout the next few podcasts, we're going to talk about just a few of those things, but we'll devote an entire podcast episode to this subject. You want to make sure that you have at least 14 days of food, fresh drinking water, and non-potable water, or water that's not drinkable, but you can use it, for example, to flush your toilets. One of the mistakes that people make is not planning for your picky eaters during a disaster. You would think in a disaster, your children and the other people you're sheltering with won't care what you're serving as long as they have food because they're hungry. But think again. Picky eaters will still be picky, and not so picky eaters won't want to eat the same thing every day for 2 weeks. That's why I've partnered with Ready Hour as an affiliate so that you can have access to healthy food choices made in America with a large variety and a 25-year shelf life. If you can't afford to purchase long-term storable food outright, you can purchase it over time with Ready Hour. For a short time only, Ready Hour is having a special. You buy one 30-day supply of food and get a 30-day supply free. Use the affiliate code link in the show description and be prepared for whatever comes your way. Now back to Dr. Kevin Smith. Chronic pain and gut health challenges are a big part of a veteran's life, veterans like me. Can you tell us a little bit about what's happening in individuals who have chronic pain, whether it's from degenerative arthritis, which many of us who served in the military experience it in our 20s and 30s, and it only gets worse as we age. And then also the gut health issue of, as a military person, you don't eat great. Sometimes you miss a lot of meals. And then the MREs, with a 5-year shelf life, who even knows what's in that, right? So talk to us a little bit about how to kind of come back from the brink. We had lifestyle conditions imposed on us, lack of water. A lot of times you had only Gatorade and no water, believe it or not, readily available. The MREs, the other foods that were not high in nutritional value. How does someone come back from those imposed lifestyle constraints?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for your service to this country. I appreciate it. In addition to being a functional medicine practitioner, I'm also a chiropractor. So I know a thing or two about joint pain. From my experience, the joint problems or just problems in general a lot of those can be go back to the basics, go back to lifestyle type things. Are you moving, or are you a sedentary person? The body was designed to move. And so if you're going for walks, if you're lifting weights, if you're doing stretches, those are things that are essential for general wellness for the joints and for the muscles and all the soft tissues that surround them. Are you getting plenty of sleep? Are you sleeping 6 to 8 hours a day? And the body was designed to be able to get plenty of restful, replenishing sleep that is absolutely essential for musculoskeletal problems to be able to heal. Are you paying attention to your ergonomics? Your ergonomics has to do with how your environment is coexisting with your body. So, for example, are you making sure that your chair is set up properly? Are you making sure that your workstation is set up properly? Are you making sure that your chair in your car is adjusted to your height and your body? Are you making sure that you're flipping and rotating your mattress and your bedding every 90 days? And every couple of years, you have to get a new mattress because they start to break down. And when that happens, you're doing your body a huge disservice by not investing in yourself. Is your footwear the right kind for your body? I had a guy that was in his early 30s and he had plantar fasciitis, or inflammation of the bottom of the foot. And it was because he was using cheap, crappy shoes that he would buy at Walmart because he was cheap and he didn't want to go to buy decent sneakers like other people. But those are things, and of course, not to toot my own horn, but a chiropractic adjustment every once in a while feels great. So it keeps the bones moving, it keeps the posture where it should be, and so those things are really, really the center of all this. Gut health, you have to pay attention to what you're eating. I know that sometimes you don't have a choice. In your case, relying on MREs. Not the most nutritional thing in the world, but your gut health is an enormous topic. When I was writing my second book, my chapter on gut health was 100 pages long, and so one page equals about 4 pages in a regular book. I had to prune the tree. I had to whittle that down to 10 pages so it would fit the rest of the book. Those are things like absorption. How's your inflammation in your gut? Water retention, bowel transit times, occult blood. How's your microbiome? That's the ecology of bacteria that lives in the gut. And all those things can be measured and they can be tested. And that has a massive impact on your immune system, on your neurotransmitters, on your mood, everything. So the medical literature says that the gut is the body's second brain. So whenever I have somebody that comes in my office and they may have some irritability or nervousness or ADD symptoms or some other type of a problem with memory or cognition, I always look at the gut first to see what I could do to help the brain. So that's the pathway to improving the function a lot, is by improving gut health.
If you've missed our episode on gut health, be sure to catch that. When we come back, we're going to talk with Dr. Smith about how functional medicine practitioners help their patients. World events are constantly teaching everyone some very painful lessons. Without warning, everything we take for granted can suddenly fail. And if you're not prepared in advance, you really don't have a chance. The fact is, the modern world runs on a just-in-time supply schedule. Even the biggest grocery stores can carry only enough food for a few days' worth of normal shopping. So when disaster strikes and chaos ensues at your local stores, the odds are simply against you. If you don't have emergency food and gear stockpiled in advance, you will probably suffer. My partner, Ready Hour, is here to help you ahead of time. Ready Hour has a long history of providing calorie-rich, reliable, and delicious nourishment for life's unexpected situations, and critical emergency gear too. They're part of a family of companies that have served millions of people like you for decades. My family and I use Ready Hour products for camping, mountaineering, and disaster preparedness for 5 years now. They're not just reliable, they're also your affordable option too. Long-term survival food shouldn't break the bank. That's why they have great sales and payment options for you. It's your bridge to safety and survival when things just aren't normal anymore. So make your next decision your smartest decision. Be ready for tomorrow, today. Trust Ready Hour. Ready to shop? Use my affiliate link in the show description. Right, we're back. Dr. Smith, when you're working with a brand new patient, how does that work? What's it like having someone come from, gone through allopathic or conventional medicine, they're at their wits' end, and now they've come to see you frustrated and probably a little bit scared. What next?
Okay, so the first thing that has to happen is I have to gather some information about you and about the different problems that you're having. So the first thing I'm going to do is that we're going to take a look at your medical history. We're going to look at all the things that you've tried, all the different traumas that you've experienced, your drug list, all the different problems that you've been previously diagnosed with. And then from there, we're going to progress into a consultation. We're going to have a conversation, and I'm going to look at, I'm going to say, what are your goals? What would you like to try to achieve? There's no one size fits all solution to that. So everybody's an individual. Everybody brings with them a unique perspective and certain challenges. So I would say, what would it take to make you happy? From there, we would look at getting some foundational lab tests. So my foundational lab tests come in the form of blood and urine tests. So the difference between what I do versus what, say, a primary care physician will do is the primary care physician will order this much tests to arrive at a diagnosis in order to justify prescribing a drug. In other words, he's going to do exactly whatever the insurance company dictates to him that they will pay for, and nothing else. So by the time you even walk in the primary care physician's office, your treatment plan has already been predetermined for you by an actuary that sits in a cubicle in New York City or Chicago that has never met you, has never looked at your history, has never looked at your done a consultation, done an exam, looked at your lab tests, but they know exactly what you need. So that goes back to one of the earlier questions you have. Why are so many people sick in this country? It's because they're not ordering enough tests. Because the insurance companies are in the driver's seat when it comes to healthcare decisions. So when I order my tests, I order a huge amount of tests because I want to see, the entire metabolic landscape. For example, I'm going to order a comprehensive metabolic panel that's going to cover your kidney and liver health. I'm going to order your vascular lipid panel to see things like triglycerides, cholesterols, LDLs, VLDLs, all these different types of blood lipid panels. I'm going to look at your iron cycle to see if you could potentially have an anemia. We're going to order a CBC with a differential. That means a complete blood count. We're going to be able to check for red blood cells, platelets, white blood cells, and then the different types of specialized white blood cells like eosinophils and neutrophils and basophils and things like that. We're going to order not just one, but 9 different thyroid tests. 9 different thyroid tests is what's required to see the entire thyroid landscape and see what's going on and see where there could be some breakdowns. So, for example, if a person has low energy, where is that happening? Is it happening because you're not making enough T3? Is it happening because you have problems in the liver, in the gut? You're having problems transporting thyroid hormone to different parts of the body. Maybe you're having a problem with inflammation that's causing cytokines to form on the receptor sites. So by ordering a lot of tests, I can figure out what's going on where they can't. They just don't have enough information to properly evaluate what's going on. Then I'm going to I'm going to look at the data in a couple different ways. When you get test results from Quest or from LabCorp, they have what's called a reference interval. And the reference interval has a low number on this side, and they have a high number on this side. And if your score is between those 2 points, you're okay. I do something a little bit different. I look at that, and I look at the functional normal. The functional normal is based on healthy patients. The reference normal or the lab normal is based on sick patients. So let me ask you a question. Who would you rather be compared to? Healthy people or sick people?
Definitely healthy people.
Absolutely. So the functional normal is based on the healthy patient population. That's a very narrow bandwidth. It's a very tight, non-forgiving way of looking at this. And so we look at this as the functional normal, the lab normal, and lab abnormal. And then we color code the report. And so if you're functional normal, we color code that as green. That means you're doing great. If you color code that as yellow, that means you're outside the functional range, but you're still within the lab range. And yellow, if you look at a stoplight, a yellow means slow down. It's going to turn red soon. You need to proceed with caution. So when a person is in the yellow zone, that means that they're already moving in the wrong direction. Medical doctors never look at the functional rate. They only look at the lab normal. And if they're outside the middle section, but they're still within the lab normal, they're moving in the wrong direction, they're going to say, oh, you're okay. Let's just go. So I am able to diagnose and figure out what's going on long before they can, because their range is so big and so forgiving. And then obviously if they're outside of the functional of the lab range, that means that they're in full-blown pathology and they need some help right away. So the first thing is to look at the parts that are outside the lab range. The second part is look at the parts that are outside the functional range, but they're still within the lab range, and move in that direction. So by ordering enough tests and then applying the right metrics to the tests, I'm able to figure out what's going on with a person and hopefully put an end to the problem.
I can tell you that I've never had a screening exam that has been that comprehensive in my life. How can new patients work with you? Are you taking new patients? And if so, how do they contact you? And do they need to live in the Pittsburgh area?
So first of all, they don't have to live within the Pittsburgh area, because I am able to speak with these guys and talk to them through Zoom or through, I can talk to people from other states. We can work with people from Texas or California or Florida, outside of Pennsylvania. That's no problem at all. As long as we can get on the phone or talk on the Zoom connection, we can work together and we can get you some help. The way to do this is by giving me a call at area code 412-595-7332. And when we talk, we're going to schedule a discovery call. The discovery call is when it's just a simple 5 to 10 minute phone conversation where I'm going to talk to you about what do you want to achieve? What are your goals? What is going on with your body? And then from there, we'll decide what we need to do about it. What's in your best interests. But the way to start is by giving me a call and then scheduling a discovery call. So just give me a call at area code 412-595-7332, and then we will progress from there.
Look, you know that I always give you the truth, listeners. I never mess with you because you're my friends. This is a doctor that I would trust to help me not only identify my health challenges, but help me fix it so that I can live a longer and healthier life. So give him a call. You'll find all the information in the show description.
Since 2012, the Health Ranger store has been answering your calls for a trustworthy, responsive, and affordable source of health-focused products. Built from scratch with its own US-based fulfillment center and dedicated in-house customer support, they've got you covered. From nutritional supplements and superfoods to storable foods and preparedness gear, they offer competitive prices on top-quality, lab-tested items. I'm excited to partner with the Health Ranger store to bring you the purest, most reliable products out there. Ready to shop? Use my affiliate link to get started.